like we have everybody here, so we're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. If I could just, is Ms. Taylor on the call?
Yes, good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, good morning. If we could have you please call the roll.
Certainly. Chairman Vasquez.
Present.
Vice Chair Schaefer.
Vice Chair Schaefer.
Present. Here.
Where were we? In the call?
Member Gaines.
Present.
Member Cohen.
Sure. Yep.
Member Cohen. Deputy Controller Stowers.
Present.
So we have a quorum present that will officially start the meeting. If I could just, once again, as we get started here, if I can get you all to stand, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And just once again, a friendly reminder that we are all sharing the same line. So your patience obviously is needed. And if I could just ask once again for all of us, the members and any of the participants that we might have on the line today, to remind you all that because we're sharing the same line, we need you to, one, please be waiting to be recognized so I could announce who's speaking and make it as easy as possible for our transcriptionist as she's documenting these minutes. So with that, let me begin. And I wanted to just open up with an announcement first on our agenda. And in case you haven't seen the agenda for today, just wanted to let you know that items G, rulemaking, K1D, operational priorities and projects, K4, A, B, and C, legislative division chief's report, and M, public policy hearing on Proposition 19 implementation will be taken up tomorrow. We'll take this up tomorrow, which is the 24th, to allow more time. And as we speak, we're having some changes being made to try to give you the latest information we have, especially on the Prop 19 bill that you've seen that's already out there. So with that, let me have, if I can have Ms. Taylor, please announce our first order of business.
So what are the two votes?
Our first order of business is an announcement regarding the public teleconference participation. Good morning, and thank you for joining today's Board of Equalization meeting via teleconference. Throughout the duration of today's meeting, you will primarily be in a listen-only mode. As you may know from our public agenda notice on our website, we have requested the individuals who wish to make a public comment fill out the public comment submission form found on our additional information webpage in advance of today's meeting, or alternatively, participate in today's meeting by providing your public comment live. After the presentation of an item has concluded, we will begin by identifying any public comment requests that have been received by our board proceeding staff, with the AT&T operator providing directions for you to identify yourself. After all known public commenters have been called, the operator will also provide public comment instructions to the individuals participating via teleconference. Accordingly, if you intend to make a public comment today, we recommend dialing into the meeting on the teleconference line, as the audio broadcast on our website experiences a 1 to 3 minute delay. When giving a public comment, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We ask that everyone who is not intending to make a public comment, please mute their line or minimize background noise. If there are technical difficulties when we are in the public comment portion of our meeting, We will do our best to read submitted comments into the record at appropriate times. Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. And I see Member Cohen has just joined us, and I see a hand up. So welcome. Good morning. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask permission just to say a couple remarks to set the tone, honoring Black History Month before we proceed with our agenda. May I have your permission?
Go ahead.
All right.
And I hear the youngest member.
Yes, you do. She gets more and more verbal as the days go on. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to just to present some ideas. I want to acknowledge my staff that's been tremendously helpful. John and Regina, I appreciate your love and support. Well, good morning, colleagues. In honor of Black History Month, I'd just like to take a few minutes to make a few brief remarks. And I truly believe that now is the time for us to begin to reflect on the countless contributions that African Americans have made to various communities that we live, work, play in. And now it's also a time to reflect on the many inequalities that still exist for all of us. In 2020, while we celebrate the election of the first Black woman as the Vice President of the United States of America, we also want to acknowledge the stark racial reckoning facing our country and facing our state. This racial reckoning is exacerbated by COVID-19, a pandemic, and the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Both events have disproportionately impacted the African American community. However, in the midst of facing countless inequities over the years, we as a people have found the resolve, we have found the determination and the strength to still make incredible contributions to our country and to our state. Well, we remember that it was Harriet Tubman who led the enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad. And we remember Thurgood Marshall, the great jurist, the first African-American Supreme Court justice who founded the NAACP, Legal Defense Fund and Education Fund, and successfully argued the landmark case of Brown versus the Board of Education. And we remember Mary Fields. Mary Fields may not be a familiar name from some folks that are listening, but Mary Fields was born enslaved. She was the first Black woman to work for the United States Postal Service, and she never missed a day of work. And so much so that she was named, she earned the name Stagecoach Mary. Also want to recognize Charles Houston, who was the dean of Howard University, which is the same university that our vice president graduated from. And as the dean, he trained a generation of Black lawyers who fought for civil rights, and Howard University Law still continues to train Black lawyers. A name that we might also recall is Ruby Bridges. Ruby Bridges is a 6-year-old little girl that took the historic walk to school, integrating an all-white elementary school in Louisiana. We also remember Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat 9 months before Rosa Parks did, who was more successful in making in kicking off the civil rights protests. But actually it was Claudette Colvin who was the first, and she was 15 years old. Bessie Coleman, who was the first Black woman to earn a pilot's license. So it's with sorrow that we remember 4 girls, Addie Mae Collins, Carol Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, and Cynthia Dion Wesley, ages 11 through 14, who were murdered in 1963 in the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. So needless to say, these are just highlighted examples, and I frankly can go on and on in celebration and also in sorrow and sadness. About the contributions that African American people have made to this great country and to our state, all of whom have made it possible for me to be here. These are the shoulders of the folks, of the men and women that I stand on, to be on this esteemed body as a constitutional officer. But this year, we face this darkness, a dark moment of inequity and continued systemic racism. I challenge all who can hear my voice to dig deep and reflect on what side of history you want to be remembered on. I think I'm in good company when I say we are joining together and working together to end this inequity, system of racism. Every child, regardless the color of their skin or their zip code, must have an opportunity to realize Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, a dream that's not materialized just yet, but we are working every day to make happen. This Black History Month, I ask that you have the courage to have conversations with family members and friends about systemic racism. And many of you on this call, I've had these conversations. I want to acknowledge many conversations that I've had with Senator Gaines, delightful conversations that I really do cherish. Thank you, Senator Gaines. And I want people to move outside their comfort zone and say something when you see something, an inequity, an imbalance, an injustice that's happening. Have that courage. Make a decision to hire or promote someone who doesn't look like you. We must do everything that we can at all walks. I strongly believe that we must be conscious and consistent about the policy decisions that we make that impact the economic progress and opportunities for Black families. And when we speak about addressing the wealth gap, our words must be more than just rhetoric. We've actually got to put some action and some energy behind those words. We must be more thoughtful and careful when we consider the impact of such measures of Prop 19 that take away the hard-earned economic progress of Black families who fought for their own family homes. And we must look at all the actions of government with a critical eye. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of courage to do that. I would like to say in closing that there's one of my favorite songs as I get older. It's Lift Every Voice and Sing. And you might have heard Dr. Weber talk about this song in previous speeches. But we're singing a song full of faith and of the dark past and what it has taught us. And we're singing a song full of hope that the present has brought us. So let's continue to march on till victory is won. Mr. Chair, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes. Well, maybe more than a few minutes, but thank you for allowing me an opportunity to make this address. It was on my heart, and I just really wanted to share it with everyone that's listening and colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. Thanks for serving with me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for those opening remarks, and really appreciate just putting it out there, because I think so many times we go through our daily lives and we assume things just happened, but there was a lot of struggle. And a lot of lives were lost over the years.
Chair Vasquez, this is Vice Chair Schaefer.
Vice Chair Schaefer, yes, go ahead.
I want to compliment Malia Cohen on her very gentle and poignant remarks and add a few of my own. Before we get started this morning, I wanted to recognize from our district that February is Black History Month. Being in my 80s, I enjoy the wisdom and the benefit of the ages, and I can remember when society treated our Afro-American citizens quite differently than they do today. I have a long history as an ally and friend of the Black community, dating back to when I represented Southeast San Diego in the San Diego City Council in the 1960s. I opened up the hotel business in Catalina Island to house Count Basie and his big band orchestra when none of the other Wrigley hotels in Catalina had any vacancies for them when they sent 20 of their musicians over there to entertain the public. In recent months, I've spoken out against the murder of George Floyd and demanded police accountability. I'm looking to the future as we continue to promote equal justice under law and the Black lives in our state and country, and I'm proud to be a little part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see a hand of Member Gaines. Go ahead, Member Gaines.
Oh, thank you so much. I wanted to thank Malia Cohen for the wonderful comments. Really appreciate that, and recognizing Black History Month and how important that is. I had the pleasure of going through the Black History Museum in Washington, D.C. the last time I visited there, and it was so rich and so educational in terms of Black history and how we have to continue to be vigilant and making sure that people are treated fairly. And Blacks have a history in our nation that we have to be so conscious of, and we need to recognize and make sure that everybody is treated equally. And Martin Luther King, he was such a great representative in terms of how he dealt with the race issue and bringing it forward. And as a Christian, I share the same faith as Martin Luther King, and he talked about the content of individuals' character and how important that is, and how we need to make sure that people have a level playing field and have an opportunity to excel, because that is the richness of America, and we need to continue to strive to satisfy those dreams that Member Cohen spoke of. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no others, thank you once again. And with that, we will go ahead and officially begin our first item. If I can have Ms. Taylor, please call our first item.
Our first order of business will be item C1A, property taxes, state assessees presentations on capitalization rates and other factors and procedures affecting fiscal year 2021 to 22 property values of California public utilities, railroads, and pipelines, presented by Mr. McCool.
Good morning, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members of the board. I am Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. I'm here today to introduce the state assessees presentations on capitalization rates and other factors affecting value. Under Property Tax Rule 903, the board provides state assessees with the opportunity to make public presentations regarding the valuation of their unitary property. These presentations are informational and do not require any board action. I'm not aware of any state assessees that are planning on making a presentation today. However, I will note that the State Assessed Properties Division staff has met with many state assessees already this year to discuss matters related to the upcoming valuation season, and we have additional meetings scheduled for the remainder of this month. We will, as always, continue to make ourselves available to any state assessees that would like to meet with us to discuss any matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers in the audience here, Ms. Taylor, on this one?
At this time, we don't have any scheduled speakers nor any written comments, so we could proceed to open the public line.
Sure, let's do that.
AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on state assessees presentations on capitalization rates and other factors. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we would request that callers provide their name. Is there anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter?
And ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, you may press 1 then 0 on your telephone keypad. If you are using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset before pressing the numbers. Again, for public comment, you may press 1 then 0. I have no one queuing up at this time for public comment. Please continue.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions from the board of Mr. McCool? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Taylor, why don't we call the next item?
The next sub-item, C1B, property taxes, state assessees presentations on capitalization rates and other factors affecting fiscal year 2021 to 22 taxable values for private railroad cars, presented by Mr. McCool.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, again, Jack McCool with the State Assessed Properties Division. Property Tax Rule 903 also provides private railroad car taxpayers an opportunity to make public presentations to the board on factors affecting the taxable value of private railroad cars. Again, I am not aware of any private railroad car assessees that are planning to make a presentation today. However, their annual property statements are due on April 30th, and they have another opportunity to make public presentations to the board in April if they so choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, do we have any other speakers on this item?
At this time, we do not have any scheduled speakers, and we do not have any written comments, so we may proceed to AT&T.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, for public comment, you may press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. Again, that is 1, then 0. I have no one queuing up at this time. Please continue.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions of Mr. McCool on this item? Seeing no hands, I will assume we're all good. Ms. Taylor, would you please call the next item?
Certainly. The next item is E3A, Tax Program Non-Appearance Matters, Adjudicatory, Legal Appeals, Property Tax Matters, Section 40 Matters. Lodi Gas and Storage, LLC, 100198, 1064098, and Wild Goose Storage, LLC, 0195, 0106 4099. Contribution disclosure forms are required for these items. Ms. Garrett will present.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members of the board. I'm Sarah Garrett, appeals attorney with the board's legal department. As you may recall, the consolidated case of Lodi Gas Storage and Wild Goose Storage was decided by the board in November 2020. Under Revenue and Taxation Code Section 40, the board is required to adopt a written decision for each case where the amount in controversy exceeds $500,000 in tax. As the consolidated case meets this amount in controversy threshold, I have prepared for your consideration a draft, non-precedential written opinion for this consolidated case to memorialize the decision made by the board in November 2020. If adopted, the decision will be posted to the BOE website to fulfill the board's obligations under Section 40, allowing for transparency and memorialization of the board's decision. At this time, staff recommends that the board adopt the non-precedential Section 40 written decision for the consolidated case of Lodi Gas Storage and Wild Goose Storage, LLC.
Members, are there any questions before I entertain a motion to adopt staff recommendation here? Seeing and hearing none, I'd like to entertain.
Vice Chair Schaefer so moves.
So it's been moved by Member Schaefer to adopt the staff's summary decision and recommendation. And then I see a second by Ms. Stowers. Seeing no other comments or questions, Ms. Taylor, can we please call the roll?
Would we like to open this item to public comment?
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought we did. Well, go ahead. Let's do that.
Let's do that. There are no scheduled speakers nor written comments. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on tax program non-appearance matters, adjudicatory, legal appeals. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we request that callers provide their name. Is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter?
And for public comment, please press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad.
Wi-Fi secure, right? Good. You have a disconnect.
I have no one queuing up on the phone. Please continue.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, let's go ahead if we can get a roll call on the motion.
Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. With that, Ms. Taylor, if you would please call the next item.
The next item is E3B, Tax Program Non-Appearance Matters, Adjudicatory, Legal Appeals, Property Tax Matters, Section 40 Matters, Southern California Edison Company 0148 1064117. Contribution disclosure forms are required for these items. Ms. Garrett will present.
Good morning again, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members of the board. Sarah Garrett, appeals attorney with the board's legal department. As you may recall, the Southern California Edison case was heard and decided by this board in December 2020. Under Revenue and Taxation Code Section 40, the board is required to adopt a written decision where the amount in controversy exceeds $500,000 in tax. As this case meets the Section 40 threshold, I have prepared for your consideration a draft non-precedential written decision for this case to memorialize the decision made by the board in December 2020. If adopted, the decision will be posted to the BOE website to fulfill the board's obligations under Section 40, allowing for transparency and memorialization of the board's decision. So consistent with that, at this time, staff recommends the board adopt the non-precedential written decision for Southern California Edison.
Members, are there any questions of Ms. Garrett or comments? Yes, I see Member Cohen. You're muted, Member Cohen. So go ahead. Member Cohen, can you hear me? Oh, there you go.
I'm here. I'm toggling my documents. I'm sorry. I just wanted to announce that I'm not going to be able to participate in the Southern California Edison matter. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this one?
Yeah, this is Member Gaines, if I could.
Yes, go ahead, Member Gaines.
Yeah, Chair Vasquez, I just wanted to clarify I will be abstaining on this.
Okay. Anybody else?
This is Vice Chair Schaefer.
Yes.
Chair Vasquez, aren't we sort of obligated on this? We having had hearings back in December and having made a wise decision, more or less, at that time. I don't know if without a substantial change in circumstances that there's any wiggle room. And I like to have discretion when I vote on something. It looks to me if I don't vote on this, we can't proceed.
Is Mr. Nanjo on the line?
Yes, I am, Chairman Vasquez. At this point, there's still, the Deputy Controller may vote on this matter, so there's still enough to support the vote. Unless Vice Chairman Schaefer has a basis to not vote or decides not to vote in favor of this, and then in which case we would have to go to, there are other methodologies by which the vote can still be supported.
You're muted. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Vice Chair Schaefer.
I have no conflict here, and I will be voting, so we can. That's a heads up. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, Member Cohen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the December 16th, 2020 board meeting, I didn't participate in the matter of the petition for the reassessment of the unitary value for Southern California Edison. So in accordance with this action, I'm not going to be participating in the vote. I just want to be consistent, and I'm happy to
Thank you.
be on the record.
Chairman Vasquez?
I'm sorry, Ms. Stowers, go ahead, Ms. Stowers.
Yeah. I appreciate Ms. Cohen clarifying that she's not voting because she didn't participate on the underlying case. Mr. Naldo, correct me if I'm wrong, but the board, the 5-member board, already taken action on the case in December. So what we're doing now is just approving the summary decision. But the decision has already been made on the assessment value. And I understand Mr. Gaines not wanting to, where he's abstaining because he voted no on the underlying case. So it would not be consistent for him to vote yes on the summary decision. And then for those who are questioning why I'm voting, if you are questioning, if you care, Um, I'm voting because Controller Yi did participate in that decision in December, so she exercised her constitutional function. And so once she does that, I can go ahead and do the administrative side, adopt summary decisions, adopt Section 40 cases, and we have precedent on that.
All right.
Member Gaines, if I could.
Oh, Member Gaines, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
That was well described by Member Stowers, so that's why I'm abstaining, because I voted no prior on this. Thank you.
And Member Cohen, is that hand still up or is that an old hand? You're good? Okay. With that, then let me just entertain a motion to approve the summary stated by staff on this particular matter.
Vice Schaefer, move.
It's been moved by Vice Chair and second by Ms. Stowers. With that, Ms. Taylor, if we can have a roll call of those able to vote. Is Ms. Taylor there?
We don't need it.
Probably muted, Ms. Taylor.
Chair, are you able
Yes.
to hear me? Okay.
I'm getting some back noise from you, I think. And Ms. Taylor? While we're waiting for Ms. Taylor, maybe is AT&T available? Can we just check and see if there's anybody willing to comment on this item before we vote? Is AT&T available? Is Ms. Taylor available?
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear AT&T on this line.
I can hear you now.
Oh, thank you. Let me check for questions again. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Somehow the line got muted. I apologize. Just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, please press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up on the phone at this time. Please continue.
Chairman Vasquez, this is Chief Counsel Henry Nanjo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. We had a situation I wasn't able to speak while Deputy Controller Stowers was making her comment, and I might have missed some of it, but just for the record, I believe Ms. Deputy Controller Stowers stated it appropriately. What the board is doing in this action is merely confirming that the summary decision that was prepared by Ms. Garrett is an accurate reflection of the decision that took place at the last meeting in December meeting, and therefore whether members abstained or voted against or what have you, as long as they are confident that it is an accurate representation of what occurred at the meeting, they could still support it. Now, obviously, if they choose for other reasons not to vote or what have you, that's their option, but that is also why Deputy Controller can participate, because the decision is already made. This is merely confirming that the document that was prepared is an adequate or appropriate reflection of what occurred in December. Thank you.
Thank you.
And excuse the interruption. This is the AT&T operator. I just wanted to let you know we have someone queuing up on the phone. Thank you. Would you like to have the person say their public comment at this time on the phone?
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. I have line number 43 for public comment. If you can please state your name and affiliation if you have an affiliation. Thank you.
Hi, this is Allison Morgan with AT&T. I was having technical difficulties getting in when they asked if you needed a comment from an AT&T representative. We didn't have any objection at this time to the audit matter that is currently on the agenda.
Thank you. Anybody else, Ms. Taylor, or AT&T, or is that it?
On the phones for AT&T, we have no one else in the queue.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Ms. Taylor, do we have any written comments on this?
We do not.
Thank you. With that, why don't we go ahead and call the roll on the motion then?
Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So we have a
Noting
majority.
Member Gaines.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then
We do.
Member Gaines abstains, right?
Yes, and Member Cohen not participating.
Just, all right, so that's, we have that down for the record, but we do have 3 in support, so that moves forward. And with that, Ms. Taylor, if you would please call the next item.
The next item is F1, Other Tax Program, Non-Appearance Matters, Property Tax Matters Audit. Mr. McCool will present 2 items for your consideration, which may be voted on individually or collectively. Contribution disclosure forms are not required for these items. As these matters are constitutional functions, Ms. Stowers is not participating in accordance with Government Code Section 7.9. Mr. McCool will present.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the board. Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division once again. The State Assessed Properties Division performs routine audits of state assessees under the authority of the California Revenue and Taxation Code Section 828 and Government Code Section 15618. The purpose of a property tax audit is to determine the accuracy, completeness, and reliability of the financial data furnished by state assessees and used by the board in the valuation process. Audits also include an internal review of the methods, calculations, and assumptions used by the State Assessed Properties Division. Before you today for your consideration are 2 property tax audits completed by State Assessed Properties Division staff. Both assessees have been presented with a copy of the audit report, and both assessees are in agreement with the findings of their respective reports. I am available to answer any questions, and I ask for your adoption. Thank you.
Members, are there any questions or comments of staff? Member Cohen, is that hand an old hand? Oh, you're good. Okay.
No, sir, I don't have any questions. Let me put this hand down. There we go.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Now we're good.
Sorry about that.
Anybody else? Seeing no hands or comments of staff? Ms. Taylor, are there any written comments from the public on this?
Chairman, there are no written comments on this item.
Can we check with AT&T if there's anybody in the public?
Certainly. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on other tax program non-appearance matters audits. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we request that the public commenters provide their name. Is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter?
And ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, you may press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up for public comment. Please continue.
Thank you. With that, members, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the staff summary decision and recommendation here.
So moved.
It's been moved by Member Gaines
Second.
and second by Member Cohen. Seeing no other hands or comments or questions, Ms. Taylor, can we have a roll call vote?
And just for the record, I'm sorry to interrupt Chairman Vasquez. I just want the record to be clear. This is
Yes.
not a summary decision. It's the audit findings.
I'm sorry. So it's an audit find, not a summary decision. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen.
Aye.
Oh, and Ms. Towers, I'm sorry, she can't vote on this anyways. So with that, it's unanimous of those that are able to participate, and we will move forward. If Ms. Taylor, if you can please call the next item.
The next item is H1, Chief Counsel Matters, Property and Special Taxes, Board Consideration of Findings and Decision, GATX Corporation, 0503 106 4217. Contribution disclosure forms are not required. Ms. Garrett will present.
Good morning again, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members of the board. Sarah Garrett, appeals attorney with the board's legal department. As you'll recall, the board heard and decided the GATX petition in December 2020. The petitioner requested a findings and decision from the board to memorialize the decision the board took in December. Accordingly, I have prepared a draft non-precedential summary decision for the board's consideration. If adopted, it will be distributed to the petitioner in satisfaction of their appeal rights. So at this time, staff recommends the board adopt the non-precedential written decision prepared for GATX.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Members, are there any questions of Ms. Garrett? Seeing no hands or comments. Ms. Taylor, are there any written comments on this item?
There are no written comments for this item.
Can we check with AT&T on if anybody's on the line?
Yes. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on board consideration of findings and decision. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we request that the callers provide their name. Is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter?
And ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, please press 1 then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up on the phone. Please continue.
Thank you. Members, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the staff summary decision and recommendation by Ms. Garrett.
Deputy Controller Stowers here. So move
Yes.
approval of the summary decision.
It's been moved by Ms. Stowers.
Vice Chair Schaefer seconds.
Vice Chair Schaefer seconds this. Seeing no hands or comments, Ms. Taylor, if you would please call the roll.
Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Why that takes all.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous of those present. Ms. Taylor, if you would please call the next item.
The next item is J1, Administrative Consent Agenda, approval of the board meeting minutes for January 14th and 15th, 2021. The minutes were from this board meeting, January 14th, 15th, 2021, were distributed to the board on February 12th, 2021.
Members, are there any questions or comments to our minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I know, but
Just
the agenda, we have, I know, we need to pull the agenda out, see.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
You're muted there now.
Vice Chair Schaefer, I move to approve.
It's been moved to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second by Member Gaines.
Yeah.
Seeing no other comments or questions, Ms. Taylor, if you please call the roll on the minutes, on the motion.
Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous of those present. The minutes have been approved. Ms. Taylor, if I can get you to call the next item.
The next item is K1A, Executive Director's Report, which will provide an organizational update and report on the status of pending and upcoming organizational issues, presented by Ms. Fleming.
Ms. Fleming.
Good morning, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members. I'm Brenda Fleming, Executive Director. Today's report will provide updates on many of the operational matters, except for our Prop 19 work, which we will exclusively discuss at tomorrow's February 24th board meeting. Members, organizationally first, I'm proud to share the good work performed by staff as they maintain the operational workload and projects, continue making great progress on recruitments, as we settle into our new headquarters office space, perform the broad range of tax administration duties, perform our state agency administrative duties, and implement the provisions of Prop 19. I don't want to steal their thunder, as each manager will report on the work in their respective areas, but I want to acknowledge their professionalism, their subject matter expertise, and to their commitment to the success of our tax administration responsibilities. If I could draw your attention, members, to K1B, which is the board work group structure. In 2019, Board Member Cohen proposed the establishment of a committee structure for board members to engage in policy discussions, address emergency and/or urgent issues, and lead committee hearings on property tax administration and modernization efforts. While our progress in this area has been slow, it certainly has not been forgotten. We have, however, been successful at leveraging the benefits of a committee structure in the form of our informational hearings, our board work groups, and our public policy hearings. All of these forums have contributed to our property tax modernization goals. They've helped with our public education objectives and allowed us to receive input and proposals from a range of distinguished speakers and subject matter experts, including assessors, assessment appeals boards, taxpayers, and other interested parties, all on property tax administration, policies, and practices. In December of 2020, Board Member Cohen requested that we revisit a committee structure for board members to engage in significant policy discussions in a format that does not require the full use of agency resources that are normally required for regular board meetings. Taking advantage, members, of the many lessons learned from committees, from our work groups, and the informational hearings, coupled with the need to establish a forum for board members to address property tax matters that are broader than our standard meeting agenda procedures and norms, I would propose a structure that includes the benefits realized from these other forums, including the needed guidelines and procedures. The proposal will be presented at our March board meeting for discussion and possible action. Much more detail will be provided in written form also at the March meeting. In brief, however, the structure could include two types of forums: A, an ad hoc work group or committee structure, and B, a standing work group committee structure. For example, an ad hoc would address emerging or urgent issues, would meet to expeditiously examine and research issues in order to recommend immediate or short-term solutions. A standing committee, for example, would address complex matters with broad scope, those that require more lengthy studies and examination in order to propose solutions with longer-term implementation timelines. A standing committee would be similar in some terms, mostly in terms of processes, to our interested parties meetings, for example, but certainly would not replace our interested parties meetings. The proposal will include the criteria to determine which structure to utilize, procedural rules, recommended roles and responsibilities, and suggested workflow. I'll pause for now, but will provide much more detail with a more fully developed proposal in the March timeline. If I may, members, K1C on the agenda is regarding the BOE Advisory Council. At the December 2020 board meeting, Board Member Cohen requested a report out, in fact, on the value and feasibility of establishing a BOE advisory group with the goal of proactively engaging stakeholders on the various programs and operations of the agency. Little history for you. Prior to AB 102, from about 2011 to about 2015, 2016, executive directors held advisory council meetings to engage with external stakeholders to get input on tax programs, taxpayer services and communications, tax program technology systems and operations, emerging issues and trends, areas of improvement, and potential legislative topics. The advisory council meetings were held twice a year, one in the first half of the year and the other in the second half of the year, with approximately 24 members representing varied stakeholder areas, such as city and local government organizations, tax education organizations, publishing firms, tax reform associations, senior consultants from legislative policy committees, CPAs and enrolled agents, professors from state universities, private sector representatives, taxpayer advocates and representatives, just to name a few.
Am I interested?
The meetings involved a series of presentations made by staff that informed and updated the stakeholders on activities in each organizational department. Followed then by open discussion with the members and staff, the membership and staff for information exchange and just general partnering. The advisory council members, the meetings were formally organized, including bylaws, meeting structure, membership, voting rights, etc. Having had the pleasure of participating in advisory council meetings and having the benefit of talking with prior executive directors about their experience, I propose that it is now indeed a good time to reestablish the council meetings to enrich my relationships with an extraordinary community of partners in property tax administration and state government operations. Again, members, this month's report is just a report out to give you an update on its progress. I will provide a more detailed plan for reestablishing the advisory council at our March board meeting for your discussion and possible decision and actions. Members, as we continue on the path forward to modernize our property tax system, I look forward to working with you on these and the many other items designed to rebuild our agency and strengthen our ability to better serve our taxpayers. That, members, concludes my portion of this month's report. Again, I don't want to steal the thunder from the staff. We'll go through a lot more detail with you. And unless there are questions, I will direct it to Ms. Renati. Thank you, members.
Chairman Vasquez and honorable members, I am Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. The implementation of Prop 19 requires a great deal of planning and operational work. As one of our top priorities, staff have drilled down into the details of the provisions to ensure the necessary guidance, forms, systems, processes, procedures, and communications are in place. Additionally, we have continued to manage and perform all other duties and responsibilities, both operational and strategic. To ensure that you're kept informed, I will highlight some of the other priorities and projects. The first is our workforce capacity. As of January 31st, we had 35 vacant positions in various stages of the active recruitment process.
This accounts for 82% of our agency vacancies. Over the last few months, we have significantly increased recruitment activities in order to reduce the number of vacancies. 3 positions were filled in January, 2 new hires, and 1 internal promotion. Filling our vacancies continues to be one of our top priorities. We are pleased that our recruitment strategies are resulting in attracting and hiring many more talented professionals to our agency. In addition to our recruitments, our succession plan is yielding the knowledge transfer, improved documentation, and processes results needed to help optimize our workforce capacity. The second item is our office relocation project. The construction of our headquarter offices in Natomas is completed, and with a few final touches to be completed by the end of this month. We are thankful for our partners and team members who contributed to this project's success. Members, due to COVID-19 guidelines to ensure the safety of our staff, the majority of the BOE staff continue to telework, with a small portion of staff rotating and coming into the office to handle essential business operations. We continue to follow all safety measures as provided by the California Department of Health to ensure the safety of all of our staff. And with that, members, this concludes my brief report on the agency's day-to-day operational priorities. As noted on the agenda before you, I will provide a separate report regarding our Prop 19 implementation project, including all activities to date, when that item is before you. Thank you.
What did you click? There it is.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Chairman Vasquez, we can hear you.
Sorry about, but I don't know what happened. And now I'm hearing feedback when I'm talking. You all can. Ms. Taylor.
Chair Vasquez, you're breaking up a bit, but I can go ahead and call the next item.
Please.
The next item is K3A, Property Tax Deputy Director's Report with Operational Updates, a report on the status of pending and upcoming projects, activities, and departmental issues. Mr. Young.
Yes, good morning, Chair Vasquez and honorable members of the board. Once again, this is David Young, Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department. Today, I will provide an update of the operational going-ons in the Property Tax Department. I will start out with the State Assessed Properties Division. Our staff is now preparing for the appraisal season by updating their appraisal templates and reviewing their appraisal methodologies. They are also finishing up their capitalization rate study. As you will recall, this is an item that the State Assessed Properties Division performs every single year. We study and then publish, compile, calculate, and then publish capitalization rates to be used in conjunction with the income approach when valuing state assessed property. So that will be wrapped up in the next month or so in ready for our appraisal season. So moving on to our appraisal season, as you will recall last month, I mentioned that property statements were sent out to state assessees at the beginning of January. The property statements are due by March 1st of this year. Upon receiving them, staff will have approximately 2.5 months to finish the appraisal work for 2021. We anticipate over 300 and probably around 350 state assessees. Staff will be putting together the recommended values for the board to review and take action on in the May board meeting. Next, I will move on to the County Assessed Properties Division. As I mentioned last month, we are continuing the project on the community land trust and the assessment of affordable housing built on community land trust property. We issued a revised guidelines beginning of the month in January. Comments and edits were due by February 12th of this month. The department has indeed received some. Staff is right now analyzing and putting all the comments into a matrix, and we will try to resolve any issues. It may be through a interested parties meeting, or it may not, depending on the issues raised and whether we can come to resolution or not. Our goal is to complete that project and bring the guidance before the board for adoption in the very near future. Next, I will move on to our handbooks. Last month, I mentioned that we were in the midst of redrafting two existing handbooks and one new handbook. Those handbooks are the 215 is the assessment map standards, and the 260 general exemptions, and the last one, and also handbook 570. I like to update you on developments of 570. That one has gotten the most progress. My last report on that is we were completing the final chapter of that review and redrafting of that handbook, and that has to do with the valuation of commercial aircrafts. Staff has finished drafting that chapter. It is now under internal review. After our internal review, we will reach out to various stakeholders, in particular the CAA aircraft subcommittee, and hopefully we can resolve any issues that are left remaining, and we can bring that handbook before the board for action and adoption. And my final update will be on LTAs. Since our last board meeting, the board has issued, the CAPD has issued 6 LTAs. They are the valuation of certificated aircraft standard flight times. That LTA is used in conjunction with assessing commercial aircraft in determining their presence in California for allocating their values to California, and also amongst counties. We also issued an LTA on the new construction exclusion for governor proclaimed disaster. That LTA explains the passage of a new section of the R&T code, section 70.5. We also issued an LTA on vessel valuation factors for lien date 2021. That LTA is used by county assessors in determining the assessable value of vessels. We also issued an LTA with a property tax directory. That LTA includes key contact people from the BOE and their telephone numbers and how to go ahead and get in contact with them if you have questions. 2 more LTAs to cover. We also issued LTA 2021-007, and that LTA basically publishes the forms that the board has created and revised for the implementation of Prop 19, the intergenerational transfer exclusion. And the last one I wanted to highlight is LTA 2021/008. And that is the LTA also on Prop 19. And what that one does is that it poses in a question and answer format, basically 44 questions that has to do with the implementation of the intergenerational transfer exclusion. So all those are published and available on our website right now. I would like to Also highlight a couple of LTAs that are upcoming. These are LTAs in various forms of drafting right now. The anticipated release time for these are 30 to 60 days out. We're working on an LTA. This is an annual LTA, and it basically lists new contracts for property built with California Pollution Control Financing Authority. We are also issuing an instructional LTA on BOE Form 100, and that has to do with legal entities and changes in ownership. And we are also working on an LTA right now. Once a year, we gather the assessment appeals filing periods for each county, and we publish that also. So that will be amongst the LTAs that staff is currently working on. And then finally, staff is also looking at drafting additional LTAs for the implementation of Proposition 19. There will be more on that probably tomorrow. And finally, the last thing I wanted to report on was during the last board meeting, I was asked to review section LTA number 2008/018. And that is the old LTA that was published in 2008, and it dealt with parent-child and grandparent-grandchild exclusions. I was asked to take a look at that and give my recommendation as to which part of that LTA is applicable and which parts are not. I gave a preliminary analysis during the last board meeting. I would just like to confirm that analysis. While that LTA does deal with the old parent-child and grandparent-grandchild exclusion, that LTA, I believe, is still needful because there are still transactions that occur prior to the February 16th operational date for Proposition 19 for this type of transaction. Either has not been granted or worked yet by the assessors, or the assessors have not discovered them yet. They have not been recorded just yet. So there are still some transactions out there, and I believe there will probably be transactions out there that are eligible for the treatment under the old law for perhaps a couple more years down the road. So my original assessment is that we actually notate on that LTA that this is applicable to transactions between parents and their child and grandparents and their grandchild that occurred prior to the operational date of Prop 19 of February 16th, 2021. So we will go ahead and make that notation. This concludes my presentation for the property tax department. I'm available for any questions or comments you may have.
Excuse me, members. This is Brenda Fleming, Executive Director. I'm just going to ask if I can for a quick 2 to 3 minute break. The chairman is having some technical problems with his audio, and so we're going to need to assist him with rebooting it. So members, if we could how about we take a 5-minute break, give us an opportunity to have it rebooted, and then we can proceed with questions for Mr. Young's presentation. Thank you. Staff, 5-minute break, please.
Seeing none. Ms. Taylor.
Would you like me to call the next item?
Yes, please.
The next item is K3B, Property Tax Deputy Director's Report, with an overview of proposed legislation to extend the sunset date for Revenue and Taxation Code, Section 401.10. This item will be presented by Mr. Young.
Yes, good morning again. David Young here. Today I would like to give you an overview of Revenue and Taxation Code Section 401.10. This section of the code prescribes a methodology in which to assess pipeline right-of-ways. This code section was put in 1996. What it does is that it provides a formula for the assessment of these right-of-ways used by pipelines. And if the assessor actually uses this type of prescribed method, there is a strong presumption of correctness in the assessment. As I mentioned, the law was first put into place in 1996. It had a 5-year sunset date. In 2000, it was extended for 10 years. And in 2010, it was extended for another 5. And in 2015, it was extended for another 5. So it's had 3 extensions for 10 years, 5, and a 5. The current sunset date on this provision is January 1st of 2022. So I am recommending that we seek legislation in which to extend this for another 5-year term. This assessment methodology has provided some real stability and fairness and consistency in the assessment of these types of pipeline right-of-ways over the last 25 years. Once again, I am available for any comments or questions you may have on this issue.
Thank you. I have a couple. Oh, I see one hand. Ms. Stowers. Go ahead, Ms. Stowers.
Thank you. I don't understand, Mr. Young, why we keep extending the sunset date. We've been doing this for 25 years. You just said it's very stable and reliable. Why aren't we seeking to have this permanent?
There are some real benefits to having to this type of methodology in the assessment of pipeline right-of-ways. I've already mentioned that it does provide some stability and some presumption of correctness when used. We've initially did extend it for 10 years, and now we've had 2 other extensions since then. So it's been a total of 25 years that it's been in practice, that it's been basically used. The reason why I would recommend a 5-year extension instead of a permanent extension is that within the body of this statute, they provide basically a tiered method of calculating the value, and it's actually embedded in the code. It's $20,000 per linear mile of these pipeline right-of-ways if they flow through a high density area. If it's a transitional or a medium density area, it's $12,000, and for low density areas, it's $9,000 per linear mile. I would just like the opportunity for staff and assessors and interested parties to relook at maybe some of those numbers to see if they're still relevant. This was a agreed upon methodology stemming from a lawsuit in 1993, and this basically agreement came into effect in 1996. It's been 25 years, and at the end of the extension, it will be 30 years. I think that methodology could stand a second look.
So you're saying that the different tiers, you may believe that stakeholders might want to take a look at it to see if it's still relevant. I actually agree. Correct. And would like for the executive director to direct you guys to do so. I'm not saying I'm against extending it, but it feels like every 5 years extending something without taking a second look at the underlying numbers and other facts, it's kind of not efficient. It's not a very efficient way to do it. So I really would appreciate a look at it.
Thank you, of course.
You know, along those same lines, Mr. Young, what happens if the statute is not extended? You know, how would these right-of-ways be valued?
If the statute is not extended, these right-of-ways will be valued as any other property in California. It'd be the fair. Right now, those that do not have a change in ownership, they are still valued at their factored base year, just adjusted for inflation every year. The ones that are that do have a change in ownership, the ones that have been sold or traded or transferred, those would be just the fair market value as of the date that transaction happened. So there is that three-tiered system that I described will no longer be in play.
Thank you. Ms. Stowers, was there a motion to your comment?
I don't have a motion right now. I think he just wanted to give us an overview, and then when the acting ledge director speaks, she's going to be looking for a motion.
Okay.
I mean, I don't believe that I could direct Mr. Young to evaluate the numbers, but I think he agreed to it.
It's a long-term project that I believe we should take on. It's been 25 years, basically a quarter of a century, and it can stand to have its methodologies re-examined.
Okay. Then let me go ahead and just make a motion that staff, under the direction of the executive director, take on this long-term project to reevaluate the numbers and to confirm that they're still meeting their needs.
Vice Chair Schaefer, I second that.
Any other comments from any members? Seeing none, why don't we go ahead and just take a roll call vote on that, Ms. Taylor?
Okay, Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. With that, is there any other comments or questions of Mr. Young on this item? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Taylor, what's our next item?
Our next item is K5A, Taxpayers' Rights Advocate Annual Report, presentation of the 2019-2020 Taxpayers' Rights Advocates Annual Report, highlighting the office's accomplishments, involvement in projects, current issues, and examples of cases illustrating services provided. This will be presented by Ms. Thompson.
Good morning, Chair Vasquez and honorable board members. I'm Lisa Thompson, Chief of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office for the Board of Equalization. I'm pleased to present to you the 2019-20 Taxpayer Rights Advocates Annual Report for Property Taxes and the Alcoholic Beverage Tax. As part of my presentation, I'll be providing an update on the contents of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Annual Report. This report is issued in accordance with the Morgan Property Taxpayer Bill of Rights under the provisions of Revenue and Taxation Code Section 5904. The report highlights the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office accomplishments, examples of cases illustrating the services our office provides, issues that our office worked on to resolve, and our office's involvement in educational projects to help taxpayers. In fiscal year 2019-20, our office worked on approximately 250 new cases. All were in the area of property taxes. Most cases were in the valuation category, which pertains to topics such as value reductions, change in ownership, new construction, exclusions from reassessment, exemptions, assessment appeals, and general property taxation. The remaining cases were in the administrative category, which included topics such as creating mailing of tax bills, refunds, and penalties. Of the 250 cases, most were from taxpayers from counties in District 1 and District 2. In addition to property tax cases worked on, we receive contacts from taxpayers that are seeking assistance in an area that our agency is not involved in. In those cases, the TRA office assists those taxpayers by directing them to the appropriate state or county agency. The number of contacts received from taxpayers that need assistance from other agencies that are not involved with property taxes varies each month or year, but generally it's around 60 to 70 a year. The annual report also describes how taxpayers are referred to the TRA office. County assessors' offices refer taxpayers to our offices, and your board member offices direct taxpayers to the TRA office or forwarded inquiries from taxpayers that need assistance who reached out to your offices for assistance. Our agency's website is also a source of referrals, so they are aware that the TRA office exists. On every page of our website, there is a link at the bottom of the page to link to the Taxpayer Rights Advocate area of our website. Taxpayers can contact us by completing a web intake form that sends the person's information to our office by email instantly, or they can contact us by phone. The website intake form is easy for taxpayers to use and allows them to identify the property that they were having a problem with and explain the nature of their concern or issue. Additionally, taxpayers become aware of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office for our agency from the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office of other agencies. And the Franchise Tax Board, the California Department of Tax and Fee Administrations refer taxpayers to the State Board of Equalization's office. Our office is also identified in an agency's publications covering all state advocates and the IRS advocate that's located in California. The primary, two primary functions actually of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office are to ensure fair and equitable treatment of taxpayers in the assessment and collection of property taxes, and to recommend changes in procedures and laws to improve the ease of taxpayer compliance. The annual report this year contains examples of cases that our office works on, illustrating how taxpayers' problems are resolved. Our role usually involves review and explanation of processes and laws, and it involves contact with local county assessors' offices or tax collectors' offices to help resolve the taxpayer's problem or concern. Oftentimes, a taxpayer just needs assistance in understanding what documentation needs to be provided to the county assessor's office to arrive at a solution that they need, or to receive confirmation from another party that they were treated fairly in accordance with the law. The annual report also identifies issues that the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office was involved in resolving. As a result of specific contacts from taxpayers and issues raised at the annual Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing, our agency may become aware of issues the taxpayers are having that develop into a project to resolve the issue and result in changes being implemented. This year's annual report for fiscal year 19-20 identifies two such projects. the Assessment Appeals Process Project, and the Solar Energy New Construction Exclusion Project. The Assessment Appeals Project began in fiscal year 2017-18 and continued into year 2019-20, the year of this annual report. In addition to property tax rule changes, this project brought about revisions to the agency's publications entitled Assessment Appeals Manual and a new form that assessors must use when requesting information from a taxpayer under Section 441D. The project concluded shortly after fiscal year 2019-20 with the issuance of the revisions to the postponement and continuance language in the Assessment Appeals Manual in Letters to Assessors 2020-33. The second project identified in the Advocate's 2019-20 annual report is the Solar Energy New Construction Exclusion Project, which began in September 2018 and remains ongoing. The project was initiated due in part to contacts made with the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office in 2018 by a taxpayer representative. Our agency's property tax department then initiated an interested parties process to address issues that emerged since the issuance of our agency's guidelines for active solar energy systems new construction exclusion. The project includes several phases, the first of which addresses the reporting requirements, where a draft of a proposed new property statement reporting form was developed for reporting solar energy power plant equipment in the assessor's office. Letters to Assessors 2018-47 discusses this project, and just as other projects, the project scope and all tasks within this project are posted to our agency's website. A draft form was distributed by the Property Tax Department in November 2019, with interested parties invited to submit comments in 2020. The Taxpayer Rights Advocate Annual Report for 1920 contains a section on taxpayer service improvements. The section is broken up into two parts. One, which identifies service improvements made by county assessors, and one for improvements made by the TRA office. Our office thinks it is important to highlight customer service improvements made by assessors' offices as well as by our office. With respect to county improvements, the Advocate Office solicits input from county assessors' offices each year on customer service improvements that they made. We incorporate that information into our report. This year, for the 2019-20 annual report, 6 counties submitted information that we are highlighting for enhancing service to the public. They're Alameda, Los Angeles, Mariposa, Napa, San Francisco, and San Mateo. With respect to the Alameda County Assessor's Office, they made taxpayer education and community engagement a priority and made efforts aimed at improving taxpayer access and education. It held Homeowners Expo, attended by 200 constituents, providing information about tax savings. Additionally, the Alameda County Assessor's Office digitized paper files to improve taxpayer services. With respect to the Los Angeles County Assessor's Office, they were diligent in its public education efforts to inform taxpayers about savings programs and other resources through online platforms. The Los Angeles County Assessor's Office also initiated, tested, and deployed new technology to allow employees to have full access to the assessor systems from home and allow video conferencing and file sharing. They also implemented a communications application known as Cisco Jabber to enable staff to receive public service calls from their home computer, laptop, or mobile device during normal business hours to ensure that the assessor was able to continue to provide operational public services during the effects of COVID-19 pandemic. The Mariposa County Assessor's Office made property characteristics available to taxpayers through a request on its website. Because the public could not walk into its office at times during the pandemic closure, the assessor's office established an email account specifically for assessor-related questions. Additionally, the Mariposa County Assessor's Office added a link to the CalAssessor eForms portal and entered into a contract with Megabyte Systems for a complete upgrade to its property management system. The Napa County Assessor's Office made improvements to its process for calamity roll corrections with the assistance of its property tax vendor, Megabyte Systems. It provided property tax relief to impacted property owners smoothly and quickly and maintains appropriate value history in its database. With respect to the San Francisco County Assessor's Office, it undertook a series of initiatives focused on taxpayer education and system improvements to enhance customer service. In early 2020, the San Francisco County Assessor's Office hosted their office's first welfare exemption workshop to help local nonprofits save on property taxes, and over 130 nonprofit organizations attended. Additionally, the San Francisco County Assessor's Office upgraded its website, included refining the search functions for forms and notices, and reorganized website pages for easy access. With respect to the San Mateo County Assessor's Office, they kicked off implementation of its new assessor property system, a business-driven effort to replace its legacy system, modernize assessment tools, improve workflows, and provide 24/7 online self-service capabilities, and streamline internal and external interfaces. The San Mateo County Assessor's Office is being implemented in phases and has many benefits. Additionally, in response to COVID-19, the San Mateo County Assessor's Office implemented online chat and DocuSign to improve timely response to citizen inquiries and streamline filing of official documents. This new electronic portal was created for permitting agencies to submit information to the Assessor's Office as well. And the next portion is on the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office improvements. And we are committed to making improvements to taxpayer education and providing taxpayers with information in simple, understandable terms. Under the Property Tax Bill of Rights, our office has a role in taxpayer education, and that is specifically to assist assessors in their efforts to provide education to local taxpayers. Following the discussion of customer service improvements made by the County Assessor's Office, this TRA annual report discusses work done by the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office to educate the public. And the taxpayer service improvements made by our Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office in the area of taxpayer education are the direct result of discussions made with county assessors concerning ideas our office had for taxpayer education. With the support of assessors in 2018 to pursue educational efforts, the TRA office began developing a series of short information sheets on various exclusion and exemptions topics to provide information to taxpayers that are written in simple, non-technical terms. Since that time, the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office has issued information sheets on 4 topics. The first 2 information sheets on property tax exclusions were published in July 2018. One for property transfers between parents to children, and another for transfers between grandparents and grandchildren. The third information sheet addressing the transfer of the base year value on the principal residence for persons aged 55 and over was published in June 2019. The fourth information sheet was issued in June 2020 that addresses the base year value transfer for disabled persons. These information sheets are a resource for taxpayers where they can read about the main requirements, how they can apply for it, helpful hints about the topic, and where to find additional information. They provide a resource that we can direct a taxpayer to, and the County Assessor's Office's staff can direct them to. It can help taxpayers avoid reassessment of property if they qualify for the exclusion or have property tax savings. We plan to continue working on developing information sheets on other topics and to revise existing publications to reflect changes in law as needed. The annual report lists these publications, which can be accessed through our taxpayer education area on the Taxpayer Advocates page on our agency's websites. And the next part is concerning the improvement section. There is an improvement section in the annual report where there is discussion on ease of access to information. And the Taxpayer Rights Advocate is committed to ensuring that the public has access to information when they need it. So our office continually examines our agency's website with the taxpayer in mind and coordinates with our agency's property tax department and communications officer to update information on the website. This year's Taxpayer Rights Advocate report has been posted to our website and can be accessed under the Taxpayer Rights Advocate area as an educational resources. It's offered by our office. So the basis of this report, in accordance with the Morgan Property Taxpayer Bill of Rights statutory provisions, this annual report provides the basis for the upcoming Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing. In relevant part, Revenue and Taxation Code Section 5906D states that the board shall conduct a public hearing soliciting input from assessors, other local agency representatives, and taxpayers to address the advocate's annual report and identify a means to correct any problems identified in that report. With respect to the alcoholic beverage tax, Section 32463 provides that the board shall conduct an annual hearing where industry representatives and individual taxpayers may present their proposals on changes to the alcoholic beverage tax law, which may further improve voluntary compliance and the relationship between taxpayers and the government. Both provisions are identified in the appendixes of the TRA annual report. And the Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing will be noticed with ample time to taxpayers and ample time for assessors and tax collectors statewide to display posters and flyers in their offices for taxpayers to see. Generally, the hearing is held in August of each year, with posters and flyers distributed in June. We will be confirming the specific date and time of this Taxpayer Bill of Rights hearing with our agency's Executive Director, Brenda Fleming, and Board Chair, Anthony Vasquez. Like last year, a letter to assessors will be distributed advising assessors and interested parties of the hearing for the opportunity to provide comments before this elected board. It is important to keep in mind that the TRA office works with taxpayers on issues throughout the year. So many issues have been resolved during the year, so there is no need for taxpayers to speak at the hearing. But at the hearing, speakers can comment on areas in the annual report, as well as on any other areas that they may be working with on our office, or areas of concerns regarding our agency's services. That concludes my update. I'm happy to address any questions that you may have.
Members, do we have any questions of Ms. Thompson? I have one quick one, Mrs. Thompson. You know, I believe you mentioned during your past years that the reason you present the TRA annual report in February is, 8 months after the fiscal year end, is that it takes a great deal of preparation in preparing this. I was just wondering, and I know you're a little bit short-staffed right now, but it'd be helpful, at least to me, and I'm assuming the rest of the board members as well, if you could somehow provide with a list of the types of taxpayer issues addressed throughout the year, ideally quarterly, so that we have real-time data, just so we can kind of get have an opportunity to respond sooner on taxpayer issues in our respective districts. I think would be beneficial to all. Is that a possibility?
So we have, we collect, statistics on the number of cases, but oftentimes, the taxpayers that are approaching us can, they approach us confidentially. And so I could discuss with the executive director how best, to provide feedback on, maybe how many inquiries are received from taxpayers or constituents in each member's district, that are received from outside sources. Of course, when a board member's office forwards inquiries to us, constituents, we advise you that we assisted the taxpayer, so you're aware of that. But for the others that we received through either phone or by the website, I think that we could compile some statistics on the quantities by district, so you'll have a little more metrics.
That would be helpful.
Okay. And as to your comment on, timing, I, hope to get that out earlier in a future year. It's nice to space them. I think February. We also, so if you issue it in February, then it's at least within 8 months. But we solicit input from assessors on the annual report. So after the fiscal year ends, we generally wait until August to ask for information from assessors so we can finish the prior year's and Bill of Rights hearing before we go ahead and do that. And we have to allow assessors sufficient time to provide that information to us. But I'm happy to try to, increase that time frame.
Thank you. Ms. Stowers, was that a hand or is that an old hand?
Thank you, sir. I did have my hand up and then I took it down, but I'll put it back up again. I was kind of thinking about your question to the advocate when you were asking about some of the cases that they're resolving. And I understand that she said she would give you some statistics, but I thought you were also asking for some issues, like you want to get a flavor of some common issues that are out there that you can be aware of when you're out speaking with your constituents. Am I reading more into that?
No, you're right on point.
Okay, then I don't believe I heard a response from Ms. Thompson that she could provide you with high-level summary.
So as of now, we have been working with the Lisa Renati, the Chief Deputy Director, to provide metrics, reporting, and we indicate the types of inquiries on an annual basis. But we might be able to expand that, a little bit. We do identify the number of cases by district, and then also kind of the different categories, how many were in the valuation category versus how many were the administrative category, and also identify them kind of by type. So like if it involved a parent-child transfer or if it involved an exemption. We have quite a few with dealing with parent-child exclusions and base year value transfers. I mean, those are done, but we might be able to expand them, a little bit more to elaborate on that. So, I'm happy to do that and look forward toward doing that starting with the March report.
Thank you. That would be helpful, at least to me, and I'm assuming the other members as well. The other question I had I had one more question. If I don't see any other hands up. I noticed on page 10 there, Ms. Thompson, it was regarding improvements by counties. You described the efforts by the Los Angeles County Assessor's Office in responding to this pandemic, including their quick deployment of new technologies to assist its teleworking employees to effectively communicate with and respond to the needs of the public. And I was just wondering, has your office been utilizing any similar new technologies in your work with the public during this pandemic?
Yes, we have. We do use Cisco Jabber to communicate with the members of the public. So our office is working remotely. Our main person who answers the telephone, she answers it on her computer using Cisco Jabber, and it's working quite well. So yes, we do that. So actually, for the following years, annual report, we might, indicate we've started to doing that more so in the 2021 timeframe, 2021 fiscal year. We've also moved a lot of our files and processes electronically now. So before when we set up case files, we would have hard copy files and we would pass them between our office technician creating the folder and then myself for assignment and my technical advisor. So now actually it's all electronic. So when we get an inquiry received through our board website, we save, or the intake form that's received through our website, we save that information, and if a taxpayer submits an email to us attaching a document, say a claim form or tax bill, then that is saved electronically to kind of a file management system. So it's all online. So we're looking at our computers to handle that. So it is more efficient, and we're saving paper and not contributing positively to the environment rather than using a lot of paper. so yes. So
thank you. We're saving trees. That sounds good.
We're saving trees. That's what I was trying. So yes, exactly. And it is more efficient. You can work with two screens very easily.
Thank you. I see a hand by Member Gaines.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Chair Vasquez. Just a question, Ms. Thompson, in terms of Jabber, can you expand on that a little bit in terms of how that works?
From a technical standpoint, I cannot, but if it's just an icon that appears on the lower portion of my screen or any of our staff screens, and if a call comes in, your computer just starts ringing, and you just open Jabber and you click on it and you can answer it. So it's in real time. You're not getting messages. You can just answer it that way. Or if you are not there, so let's say somebody calls on a weekend, it just leaves a voicemail automatically on your phone as it would. And if they're calling your main line, it actually records a message on Cisco. Well, it records a message and it sends you an email. So you have that, and just for calling someone, like I can just click on the Jabber icon and just dial a telephone number just like you do on your phone, and you just talk to your computer. So you have to have a laptop that has a speaker and a microphone, which everyone has, I believe, at this point. Or, if you have a desktop, I suppose you could have a webcam or that has a microphone. So it's very easy, and it's very clear because we've tested them amongst ourselves, before we actually, rolled it out to the public. So we called one another, I called someone on my cell phone, like I was simulating a taxpayer call. So we can make sure, it was, it could be clear. And it is, it's just like you're talking on a telephone.
Yeah, that's nice. And so.
Yeah, it's really nice, very efficient.
Yeah.
And then you just communicate via Teams if we're doing that. So yeah.
Very nice. And then it leaves. Did you say it leaves a message? You can leave a message and it turns it into an email?
Well, it's just like calling, I can't really address that, but it could be that it's just our system phones out of our office. Okay. But when somebody calls my desk phone, like my personal desk phone, just like it leaves a message on this phone, like you retrieve voicemail, but I also receive an email that has the voice recognition. So you're aware of it. And Cisco Jabber tells you when somebody calls. Like if you missed a call, it will tell you actually that you missed a call and what the phone number is displaying. So it's quite nice.
Yes. Oh, that's great. It's been.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, during the pandemic, we've had to try to figure out how to operate in my business. So we've got everybody working out of the home, but we have that similar technology in terms of how an incoming call can turn into an email that they get. Otherwise, they answer the phone directly unless they're busy with another client. So I'm glad that that yours is even more incorporated in that it's part of your laptop. So that is a nice feature. I wanted to follow up on the staffing question. How are you doing on that in that area? I know that you were talking about needing, I think, at least an additional individual. I don't know if it was more than that.
Yeah, so as far as technical advisors, so I'm a manager, but I'm definitely a working manager. So to assist taxpayers, it's myself and another technical advisor who is a senior specialist property appraiser. That's her classification. So we're doing that. We have an office assistant, also office technician, excuse me, that answers the phone and sets up our cases, and really is the foundation of our office. Getting first contact with the taxpayers and setting up their files. And so recently, 2 positions were reallocated from other areas of the board to fill in the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office. So paperwork has been submitted. It's currently, I think, pending review at CalHR, but it's an associate property appraiser position and an assistant property appraiser position is that we're looking to fill. So they would be assisting taxpayers. It's definitely needed.
Oh, that's great. So I want to thank you, Ms. Thompson, for advancing that, and also Executive Director Fleming for allocating those positions, because it's an important position that you fill, and I'm glad to see that we're getting the right staffing for it. So thanks for your report. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or hands, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the TRA annual report from the members.
So moved.
It's been moved by Member Gaines.
Second.
Go ahead. And second by Member Cohen. Before we vote on this, let me just check with Ms. Taylor. Is there any comments from any of the assessors or speakers or anybody in the audience on this issue?
At this time, we don't have any speakers or written comments, but there may be someone on the AT&T line.
Thank you. If you can please check.
Thank you. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on the Taxpayer Rights Annual Report. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we request that the callers provide their name. Is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this matter?
And ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, please press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up on the phone. Please continue.
Thank you. With that, Ms. Taylor, why don't we go ahead and call the roll on this motion to approve the TRA annual report.
Chairman Vasquez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer?
Vice Chair Schaefer, aye.
Member Gaines?
Aye.
Member Cohen?
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers?
Aye.
So that's unanimous of all those present. Ms. Taylor, if you would please call our next item.
Would you like me to call item K4A? Sir, you're muted.
Sorry. I believe that's the last one, no?
Yes. And then we'll have item N as in Nancy.
Yes.
Item K4A, Legislative Research and Statistic Division Chief's Report, update on legislative issues, and K4C, proposed legislation related to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 401.10, presented by Ms. Renati.
Good afternoon, Chairman Vasquez and honorable members. My name is Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. This afternoon, I'll provide an update on legislative bills impacting the BOE for both our tax programs and agency administration. Members, as you are aware, last Friday, February 19th, was the last day for bills to be introduced in the state legislature. Several new bills related to our tax programs were introduced prior to the deadline. We are currently reviewing all of the new bills and will keep you informed as part of our weekly legislative update process. Additionally, we are continuing to monitor the board-sponsored legislative proposals and whether they will be incorporated into a bill in the near future. As you know, there are currently two board-sponsored legislative proposals. They are Revenue and Taxation Code 214.02. To avoid revisiting the sunset date every few years, we are suggesting that the sunset date be eliminated. Properties that qualify under this exemption include land conservancies and land trusts. Revenue and Taxation Code 1752.2, we are proposing to amend the Revenue and Taxation Code to provide that the same property tax rules that apply to local assessment appeals boards should also apply to multi-jurisdictional assessment appeals boards. And members, earlier today, Mr. David Young, Deputy Director of Property Tax, provided a detailed explanation and report regarding Revenue and Taxation Code 401.10 pertaining to the valuation methodology of pipeline rights-of-way. The BOE staff has been in discussions with the Senate Governance and Finance Committee, who has previously been the lead in extending the sunset date on 2 previous occasions. The committee is aware of the need for an extension of the sunset date, and it is expected that a 5-year extension will be included in a proposed committee bill. Therefore, members, today we ask that the board vote to support a legislative proposal to extend the sunset date for Revenue and Taxation Code 401.10 regarding the pipeline rights-of-way until January 2027. This concludes my report on this matter.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for Ms. Renati? Hearing and seeing none. I believe you had a motion, didn't you, that you wanted to present to us?
Correct, Chairman. We ask that the board support a legislative proposal to extend the sunset date for RTC 401.10 regarding the pipeline rights of way.
Chairman Vasquez, Deputy Controller Stowers.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Stowers.
I move that we support legislation to extend the sunset date on RTC 401.10 as described by Ms. Renati.
Second, Member Gaines.
It's been moved and second. Any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none. Before we take a vote, Ms. Taylor, can we just check to see if there's any assessors or anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this?
We have no written comments, but I can ask the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on the proposed board support for legislation to extend the sunset date for Revenue and Tax Code 401.10. Is there anyone that would like to comment? For the record, we request that the callers provide their name. Is there anyone on the line who'd like to make a public comment?
Ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, please press 1 and then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up on the phone. Please continue.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on that, Ms. Taylor.
Certainly. Chairman Vasquez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer?
Aye.
Member Gaines?
Aye.
Member Cohen? Member Cohen?
She'd be asleep.
Deputy Controller Stowers?
Aye.
So that's, we got a 4. So it's still, we have a majority there. So that moves forward. With that, Ms. Taylor, if you would please call our next item.
Our next item is N, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Persons who wish to address the Board of Equalization regarding items not on the agenda may do so under this item on the agenda. Please note that the board cannot take action on items not on the agenda. However, the board can schedule issues raised by the public for consideration at future hearings. We have 2 written comments. The first comment is from an unidentified taxpayer. Loss of state revenue to illegal marijuana grows in San Bernardino County, Hinkley Valley area. Code enforcement to regain control for revenue. Our second comment is from taxpayer Terry Burns. Loss of millions of dollars in state revenue associated with illegal marijuana grows in San Bernardino County, Hinkley Valley area. That concludes the written comments. AT&T moderator, we will now take public comment on matters not on the agenda. Each caller will have up to 3 minutes to speak. For the record, we request that the callers provide their name. Is anyone on the line who would like to make a public comment regarding this?
And ladies and gentlemen, for public comment, please press 1, then 0 on your telephone keypad. I have no one queuing up at this time. Please continue.
Thank you. Members, does anybody have any final comments or remarks for the day before we take a recess until tomorrow? Seeing and hearing none, let me just remind folks before we do take our recess for today that we will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we will discuss in detail Proposition 19, issues pertaining to the proposed legislation SB 539 by Hertzberg, and to propose emergency regulations clarifying items not covered in the legislation. So unless we have any other final comments, we will go ahead and.
Chairman Vasquez?
Oh, I see. Yes, Member
Hi,
Fleming.
Brenda Fleming, Executive Director. Sir, I would like to assist. Looks like we had a technical issue with one of our members who in the process of voting. We've resolved the issue, and I'd like to suggest for the record that we give an opportunity for the legislative vote to support the RTC 40110. If we could reprocess that vote, now that the technical issue has been resolved, it will allow all members to vote.
Yes, by all means.
Vote app, thank you.
Ms. Taylor, can we go back to the vote? I believe everybody had a chance to vote. Is it appropriate just to ask if Ms. Coleman is on the line so she can vote?
We would need to process the motion again, restate the motion, and then process the vote again, sir, please.
We will do that.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Henry Nanjo, Chief Counsel. Just to be procedurally correct, we need a motion to reopen the roll.
Can I entertain a motion to reopen the vote?
Second.
It's been moved and second. I'm assuming we need to vote on that, Mr. Nanjo?
That is correct, Chairman Vasquez.
All right, let's, Ms. Taylor, if you can call the roll on this motion to reopen.
Certainly. Chairman Vasquez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer.
Reopening the roll.
Vice Chair Schaefer.
You're
Oh,
muted.
all
There
right.
you go.
Vice Chair Schaefer votes aye.
Thank you. Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous. All right, we will go ahead. Ms. Taylor, I guess you need to, or do we need to restate the motion again?
Let's do that for clarity.
Okay.
Controller Stowers, I'd like to make a motion to support efforts to extend RT Section 401.10 and the sunset date as described by Ms. Benatti.
So that was moved by Ms. Stowers, and I believe it was Member Gaines that seconded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let's take a vote on that, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Chairman Vasquez,
Aye.
Vice Chair Schaefer,
Aye.
Member Gaines,
Aye.
Member Cohen,
Aye.
Deputy Controller Stowers.
Aye.
So that's unanimous of all those present. Sorry for the viewing public. I know with this technology, sometimes we lose connectivity here. So with that, let's go back. And I was just letting everybody know as we take a recess of this meeting until tomorrow, that we will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss in detail Proposition 19 as it's being proposed under legislation SB 539, the Hertzberg bill, and to propose any emergency regulations and clarifying items that are not covered in that legislation. So with that, unless there's any other closing remarks or comments, we stand adjourned. Well, actually not officially adjourned, but in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And thank you all for your patience. I know it's been tough with this technology these days. Sometimes we lose folks. With that, we will go ahead and take a recess until tomorrow morning. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the morning, 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members. Thank you, staff.
Thank you, staff.